Welcome to the Direct Sound Podcast. Today we are talking with Alex Moore, who is the owner of Lunchroom Studio in the Austin, Texas area. And we're going to talk a little bit about his business and the type of work that he does. And Alex just recently purchased a pair of Direct Sound EX29 isolation headphones. So I'd like to hear a little bit about his initial thoughts on those. So Alex, thanks for taking time to talk to us.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate it.
So let's talk a little bit about your studio. Lunchroom Studio is a great name. Tell our listeners a little bit about how you came up with that name.
Well, one of my former bandmates / friends was Jay Bennett, who was the guitar player of Wilco. He passed away in 2009. But at the time in Chicago, we had a studio. It was a kind of a cinder block warehouse kind of a building. We had the space sort of divvied up. A friend of mine who was a drummer was coming over one day, and I was showing him up the staircase, and we passed by this door that said Lunchroom on it, and he said, "Oh, that should be the name of your studio." So that was, that would have been 2003, I think. That kind of stuck, and so I just went with it.
The studio was originally started in Chicago, you said, and how did you get to Austin?
I spent time in Chicago recording a lot of bands, and I think it just ran its course with the weather. I'd had one too many Chicago winters, and I think I was just ready for a change, and so I came down to Austin and met a lot of great players. That's kind of how things started for me here. Is I went out and saw some really amazing players and just made conversation, and that turned into multiple record projects. One of them, actually, the Carper family, was one of the first groups that I recorded here, and they went on to play the Prairie Home Companion with Garrison Keillor, and I've recorded guys that, I'd have them in the studio one week, and then the next week I'd turn on the television, there they are with Willie Nelson on stage, literally. And I was like, hey, that guy was just here. It's really neat to be able to work with players that are so talented, and it's kind of humbling, but you learn a lot, and I really enjoy that part of being in the Austin area.
On your website, you talk a lot about the different types of work that you do, anything from music production to editing, mixing, and mastering, voiceover. Talk a little bit about the range of services that you offer, and a little bit about some of the projects that you've been working on recently.
I do mastering. I also have done voiceover work, recording voiceover people. But a lot of times, I think some of the projects I work on tend to be songwriters who need help finishing a song. So, for instance, tomorrow I'll be working with a producer who is bringing in an artist that I sent to him, and he and I worked yesterday on pre-production, so we'll be ready for tomorrow. But a lot of times it's singer-songwriters. I work with a couple of rappers, occasionally full rock bands. But there are a lot of acoustic players. I've done a lot of acoustic albums here. It's just it really runs a wide variety of clientele.
And with the acoustic bands that you bring in, maybe this is a segue to talk about the EX29s. Was that sort of the driving reason behind looking for a pair of isolation headphones, or what led you to the EX29s, and what was your initial thinking about looking for a pair of headphones like the EX29s?
Yeah, well, I'm a drummer. Initially, I started playing the drums, and I also play guitar. But as a drummer, I found that I have 5 of the Sennheiser HD280 Pros, and I like those headphones. They sound nice, but there is a huge difference when I put on these direct sounds and tracked drums with them. I just noticed a massive difference in my ability to just hear the click, hear the playback, and really block out the ambient sound of the drums. It makes a big difference. It puts you in a headspace that helps you focus on what you're focus on getting a good take. And that's just, it's unusual that sometimes I think headphones take a lot of abuse in the studio. And I also like the fact that they're, really well constructed, and, you can take them apart without any special tools. That's really cool. I think that was one of the biggest things that caught my eye at first. And just in general, they're just robust. And another funny aspect to it is I have several singers that I work with who complain that they have small heads, which it sounds kind of funny, but the Sennheisers they won't go small enough to fit on their head, and these guys will, you can really scrunch them down they'll fit a very small head. So that's a big plus. I also like the fact that it's got that little adapter holder on the end is really cool. I'm constantly losing the quarter-inch tips off of those Sennheisers. I don't mean to knock the Sennheisers. I like them. It's different. It's a different type of headphone, And
right.
These I think are great for tracking.
It sounds like when you first reached out to us that you had bought those at Guitar Center. Did you do your research ahead of time, or what was the process of finding them? Right. Yeah. I think I was on Sweetwater's site, and I looked for them on Sweetwater's site, and then I watched the video, and I'm not sure who it was that did the demonstration. Somebody from Direct Sound did the demo, but in that demo video, he practically takes the whole thing apart and shows you how you can take the driver out, how the driver is closed back. It's got the foam in there. Pretty cool. And he bends he takes the earpiece yoke, I guess you call it, the thing that holds the earphone on, and just bends it back like 180 degrees. And that was kind of a shocking selling point. It was like, wow, you could step on these and they'd probably survive. So, and after a while, these little cables, they get bent back and forth, and the fact that you can replace that and that there's a kit, I like it when I'm buying a product that I know somebody has thought about the construction and maintenance. That to me is pretty impressive. So, talk a little bit about some of the work that you're doing now, or that might be coming up in 2017. I'm working on a record with a singer named Ryan Desiato, who is really talented. Very happy to be working with him. Great singer. He just works really hard at what he does. And we've done pre-production on a bunch of tracks. I think at least 10 or 11 tracks at this point, which will later become full band productions, or maybe half of them. I'm not sure what he's decided to do yet. But he's kind of producing himself. I'm sort of stepping in and producing part of it. So Ryan has been a really great client to work with. There's several rappers that I'm working with that are up and coming, and one of them, Elliot Poe, is he's been in, I think I've worked with him 5 or 6 times now. Just a number of singers and rappers. Just finished a record for Tommy Moore. That was a full album, and I played drums, bass, and a little bit of guitar and some keyboards, and I produced that record. That's called Need Some Sleep. That's on iTunes. He's been getting some good response from that. I'm at a level where I'm able to take an artist and help them get to a next level. Alex, thanks for your time today. It's been great talking to you, learning about the studio and the work that you're doing. Thanks for using Direct Sound headphones, and we look forward to hearing more. We'll keep in touch and keep us posted on projects, and all the best through the end of 2016 and into 2017.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.